Okay, so hey internet, and hello my wolf pack. So today we are going to be playing Seduce the otome again. So let's continue. I looked to my dad, who was looking around the lobby like an oh my goodness, already stuttering in the beginning of the video, like an inspector. I stood my ground, waiting for him to look at me. When he did, he let a small smile grace his lips.
Your mother's right. You look like you're all grown up.
The world around me stopped as my heart pounded hard in my chest. Did my dad just compliment me on his own accord? My mother was grinning ear to ear at his words. I was beyond speechless. Thank you, Daddy. However, his cold face quickly returned as he began to look around once again.
I assume that you're ready, then, to impress the rest of the guests, correct?
What do you mean?
The entire board from Anderson Toys is coming tonight. Even the vice chairman's son will be coming. All of them will be measuring your potential.
Oh, that's great. My potential?
To become CEO of the company.
I knew it. Something was off about tonight, and now this party had become much more than I anticipated. I gulped silently, but I nodded in response. I looked to the incubi, but they were continuing to be servants for my father's approval. I looked behind me and saw Naomi and Suzu raise their thumbs at me for encouragement. I let out a small breath before feeling my body accept the situation. I felt a weight in my gut, but I had to hide it. As if time zoomed forward, all of a sudden, the main hall of the lobby was full of guests. Men and women in formal or business attire showed up to meet me and see my new home. I didn't expect many to come, but I was once again surprised that night. I shook hands with many officials and executive members, putting on the professional face my dad trained me to have. I felt overwhelmed, but I hid it well behind a small smile and handshake. Many even asked me questions. I tried my best to reply as maturely as possible. I had to remember, say what they want to hear, not what they want to say. Ooh, this one's gonna be stressful.
So, how do you feel living on your own at such a young age?
Okay. Well, I feel fine. I'm doing my best to be better for you.
I'm so sorry about your grandfather.
I messed up.
It really hit all of us hard.
Do you have college plans?
I felt like the questions came up one after another. It was tough to answer some of them because they weren't about me. They were about the company.
What do you think will happen with the company now that your grandfather has passed?
Don't ask me anything freaking.
What do you think of the philanthropic policy the company has?
Do you think the company should expand from just toys?
It's a possibility. Eventually the questions stopped and I was back to being myself. Sorry I wasn't reading those. It was like timed and I already knew that. To being by myself. Naomi and Suzu were mingling in the crowds and the incubi were doing their jobs, so I was all alone in a room full of strangers. It was unnerving to think about, but at least I wasn't questioned left and right. Suddenly, though, my mom pushed her way through the crowd to me, bringing along someone I didn't know.
Honey, I'd like to introduce you to someone. This kind gentleman is the son of the vice chairman.
With my mother stood a man who looked only a couple of years older than me. He smiled and held out his hand to me, silently asking for my hand.
Hi, I'm Andrew Lewis. It's a pleasure to meet you, Miss Anderson.
Just gotta save. Place our hand in his. As I placed my hand in his, he raised it to his lips and kissed over my knuckles. I felt my face burn slightly at the gesture. Andrew smiled at me before releasing my hand.
I'm honored to be invited here.
My mother smiled at both of us, which made me slightly concerned. Why was she excited to introduce me to Andrew?
So, you organized this party very well, Miss Anderson.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Praise is very much deserved.
Andrew then chuckled nervously, bringing a soft fist to his lips to cover his laugh properly before smiling to me.
I'm sorry if I seem a little forward. I've just been excited to meet Harold Anderson's granddaughter.
Huh? Why?
He used to talk about you all the time in the office on how you helped him refine his toys. I only attended meetings and heard all of the stories. You helped a lot with the success of the company without having to actually work there.
Oh wow, I didn't know he talked about me. That would explain everyone's fascination with me and their rather personal questions. I looked to Andrew, who had a kind face to me. Something about him seemed off, and I didn't know what it was. He seemed to be hiding something. Whether it was good or bad, I was not able to find out. I felt someone walk up beside me, causing me to turn to them. Next to me was my dad, giving his cold stare to Andrew, who suddenly became tense.
So, you're Jared's son.
Look at them all. Look at Andrew's face. Andrew's body twitched slightly. Whether it was fear or insult, Andrew locked eyes with my father. I couldn't help but feel the tension between them. It irked me how fragile the air had become, enough to break at the wrong word.
You're the one who wants to be the next CEO of the Anderson Company.
I stared at Andrew. This guy wanted to take my grandfather's place as CEO? I thought the vice chairman wanted the position.
David, leave the poor boy alone.
I'm merely testing the boy's conversational skills. Nothing wrong with that.
Of course not, sir.
And polite as well. Interesting.
If you'll excuse me.
Quickly, Andrew retreated away from my family into the crowd of people. Follow him or stay put. I'm gonna stay put. I just immediately chose that. I watched as he disappeared into the crowd towards the back of the house. I was worried, but I gave him his space. He obviously needed it.
He's not CEO material.
That's because you practically interrogated the young man.
A little questioning shouldn't have bothered him. He's obviously not ready for any title in our company.
I bit my tongue. I didn't want to make a scene with my dad. One wrong word and he'd lecture me in front of everyone. That was not something that I wanted at my housewarming party. I let out a sigh before looking at the clock. It was getting close to midnight, meaning that the party was... Where is the clock in the lobby? It was getting close to midnight, meaning that the party was going to end soon. I lowered my gaze out the window and saw a limo pull up. Huh? Whose limo is that?
Oh, that must be Lewis's car.
I'll go get him. Stay with your father so you can escort your guests out together.
Yes, Mom. My mother left my dad and me to slowly escort the guests out. My dad held his simple smile as he thanked each person for coming. I did the same. Andrew quickly passed the doors before I could speak. Eventually, only Suzu, Naomi, my parents, and the incubi were left. My dad suddenly walked over and placed a hand on my shoulder with a smile. I stared up at him, a wave of confusion washing over my face. What?
You did good tonight. I'm proud.
Oh, thank you, Dad.
Keep it up and you'll be a good CEO.
Oh, right.
All right. Your mother and I have to leave. I'm sure Naomi and Suzu need to leave as well. Just because it's Saturday doesn't mean you should stay up all night.
Oh, right.
Thanks for having us. It was a great party. party.
He looks so cute. Of course Susie would wear something like that.
We'll come visit tomorrow or something. All right?
Right, see ya.
Good night, sweetie. Come visit us soon.
Will do. Oh, they're so cute. Look at Eric, he looks so mad. Why does Eric look so mad? And why does James look so worried? Like, seriously, what happened to Eric? All 4 of my remaining guests left the building, all but my dad waving back to me. With the last of the guests gone, I sighed and sat on the staircase, exhausted. That was tiring.
It's not like you had to do any work, though.
Shut up, Sam.
Give her a break, man. She was getting interrogated left and right.
Thank you, Matthew.
She handled herself the best she could.
As expected, princess.
Since you're exhausted, why not head to bed? We can clean up.
Hush, Sam.
Are you guys sure?
Positive. It shouldn't take long.
Ho ho ho! It didn't take long to find you little shits after all.
I felt my goodness, the music. I felt a hot shudder run down my spine. The voice from my dreams echoed through the air into my ears. I looked around, panicked, alongside the incubi. James placed a hand on my shoulder, trying to remain calm.
Don't worry. No one will hurt you.
Are you sure? Are you really sure?
All of us shot our heads towards the doors, finally pinning down the direction of the voice. The doors quickly swung open, revealing a sight I would never expect. The doors quickly swung open, revealing a sight I would have never expected to see. Skin red as blood, eyes black and gold piercing into mine, roughened up clothes, and a pistol in his hand. I saw a monster. I covered my mouth to not scream at the sight. Dried blood covered the bandana around his neck as he smirked at me and the boys around me. Beside the red-skinned man was a similar-looking woman in matching thug-like clothes.
Oh, what's the matter, boys? You really didn't think I wouldn't find you, did you?
I hoped you would, you piece of...
All of a sudden, the man raised his gun at Sam's face and instantly pulled the trigger. We all gasped in shock, instinctively expecting to see a bullet run through Sam's face, but...
What the fuck?
What?
What should have been a headshot ended with a loud but empty blank shot. The pistol echoed its empty shots as the man grew more and more pissed, pulling the trigger over and over in aggravation. Luckily for my ears, it became quieter after its first shot.
Why the fuck won't you work?
This place is protected.
Look at Damien's like smug.
What did you say, shrimp?
Where did you get... Okay.
This place has a seal, protecting it from hellborn magic.
What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
The man growled and threw his gun at Sam. He was able to dodge it in time. The pistol bounced off the ground a couple of times before sliding further away, hitting the wall in a final stop. As it stopped moving, the gun faded into black flame that disappeared into the air.
The previous owner had this place protected by magic, Malix.
Malix, that was his name. His existence resonated in my memory from the dream I had. His existence resonated in my memory from the dream I had. However, I looked to Matthew in the same confusion as Malix did. This place is protected by magic?
It would seem that your grandfather had some sort of protective barrier around this house. From the looks of it, it only disables hellborn magic.
Oh my god. Malex's face grew to that of extreme anger, his fists tightening, as if he was crushing a stress ball.
What's stopping you from dragging your asses out and shooting you then?
Out of pure instinct, I stepped forward and placed myself between Malex and the boys. With no power, Malex wasn't going to fight. I took that chance to stand up to him instead of being powerless like I was in the dream. Fuck off. Malex suddenly laughed wildly, staring at me in disbelief.
Whoa! Let the bitch out of her cage! What is this? A reverse harem or something?
Malex grinned at me evilly, walking close to me. Duck. I ducked underneath Malex's incoming hand. I stared at his hand and his black flame tattoo in surprise as I took a couple steps back from Malex. Matthew and Damien stepped in front of me, guarding me from Malex with their arms.
A quick one. I'm liking you more and more.
And I'm hating you more and more.
Back off, Malex!
Eee.
Don't start acting tough. Excuse of a
Hey,
demon.
no!
You
You back off. You back off of sweet Matthew. Leave the cinnamon roll, or is it cinnamon bun? Whatever. Alone.
Shut up!
Did I make little Matthew cry? Why don't you just grow a pair?
Enough, Malex.
The woman, who had been standing in silence the whole time, planted a firm hand on Malex's shoulder. Malex looked back at her with a growl and a glare that could kill.
Since when did you get the guts to speak out of place?
Shut up, you know she's in more control than you.
We both know you never controlled me. I want them dead just like you two. But now's not the time.
Fuck off! I know what I'm doing.
Do you? Even if you did fight them, there's 5 against 2. We never win.
Shut up!
Let's go, Malex! We're wasting our time!
The two growled at each other. If they could have used their magic, I could sense that fire would glow from underneath from under their teeth. Malex grunted and glared at the boys, who pointed at James, wanting so badly to use his fingers like a knife.
Just wait, pretty boys. We'll get you and fuck you up real good.
Okay. Then Malex turned to me, moving his finger to point directly between my eyes.
And don't think you're safe. Step outside. I dare you.
Okay. With that, Malex and the woman walked out of the mansion. The doors closed behind them, leaving the boys and I alone once again. I felt my knees give out from under me, forcing the boys to quickly turn to catch me.
Whoa! Are you alright?
Aww. Yeah, why was he here?
He's been closely tracking us. Our blood trail from the forest must have led him here.
Reading minds.
Should have stopped and finished it here.
For once, Matthew, I agree with you.
I stood up and rubbed my arms, feeling the goosebumps Malex left behind on me. I couldn't stop myself from shivering in fear of his words. Malex, was he a demon?
That son of a bitch is not a demon. He's a devil.
A devil? There's a difference?
Yes. Demons come from a different plane of existence called the abyssal planes. Devils, however, come from one of the 7 circles of a place humans know. It's hell. Despite us not being human, we are very different creatures.
Eric sounds so mad and looks mad.
We actually have brains, for one. Devils always like to cause trouble and try to kill or torture others for their own enjoyment. Demons like us know when to use our powers and when not to. We're not stupid.
Devils follow orders from higher-ups in their order, and their power only comes from their connection to hell. Demons all have free wills and don't rely on where they came from to use their powers.
This is also confusing. Demons and devils and magic all existed, and I happened to land in the middle of it. What do we do?
You're safe. You've been protected as well.
What?
What Damien's saying is that the magic that protects this place also protects you.
Sorry, I had to get something to drink. Oh gosh.
Your grandfather must have cast it when you last saw him or something of that nature. We can sense its aura around your body.
I couldn't believe my ears. It was the third day of surprises, and this one took the cake, and being the most surprising. I felt my head spin once again. What did I get myself into?
Miss, please don't worry. We'll find a way to train ourselves and become stronger to finally finish this feud.
Kick his ass right now!
Until then, we'll protect you as much as we can. If Malix comes back, we'll be here for you.
But what about going outside? Won't he...
Like we said, you have a protection spell on you. Even if Malix attacks you, he won't be able to use his magic on you. He'd be just like any other human you can fight back against.
Didn't you say you knew Taekwondo?
Well, yeah. I felt somewhat relieved that I was mostly safe from Malix. Still, I could not help but feel very nervous and apprehensive about the future. The boys were safe here to train and become stronger, but what if Malix did the same? Even more so, I was lost about how my grandfather knew about magic. I had to find out. At least I had time. The music is kind of distracting for me. I went to bed that night feeling nervous. Despite the words of the incubi, I felt like a target. I felt like a target to something I'd never been able to explain or prove. Magic? Devils? Demons? How did this all even happen? Should I really meddle with the situation? They were only staying until after they defeat Malix. That's right. They said they'd only stay until after they defeated Malix. After that, my life would go back to normal. Temporary insanity, as Kate would say. The question was then, would I want them to stay? Would I want them to stay? Would I want them to leave? I keep on saying stay instead of leave. If my life went back to normal, then I'd have to care for the house all on my own. I'd get to focus on my life instead of being distracted by the boys. I'd have to. My life. Where was my life going anyway? I was under pressure from my parents with only my friends and the boys to comfort me. Without the boys, I'd have no way to hide from my responsibilities. Enough. Let's just sleep and deal with tomorrow when it comes. Defeating my sense of thought, I forced myself to sleep, unsure of what tomorrow had planned for me. Hopefully whatever the future had planned for me, hopefully whatever the future had for me, I would be ready for it.
I promise to be with you forever.
It's all the roots.
You're so important to me.
I swear I'll give my life to you. Please, let me love you.
Let me love you. I'm gonna get copyrighted, so I'll stop singing.
I'll be by your side, always.
I can't imagine living without you.
Aww.
I want to be with you.
Aww.
I love you.
I slowly opened my eyes, letting the voices of my dream echo in my head and force me awake. I rubbed my eyes before sitting up and looking at my clock. 7 a.m. Why am I up so early? I fell back onto the bed and closed my eyes, trying to go back to sleep. However, something kept me awake. Why? It's too early to even be alive. I gave up and sat up, staring at the fireplace across from my bed. A sigh escaped from between my lips before I threw my legs over the side of the bed. What to do at 7 a.m. in the morning? Let's explore the house. I decided it was a good idea to wander around the house. I never really explored it much as a child, so there were bound to be new surprises. Well, come on, feet, let's go on an adventure. I stood and exited my room, hoping that the boys were still asleep. I began to wander the halls on my end of the house, opening each door to find what room each door led to. Quickly, I found an old office, a desk and chair sat by the far side, as a large bookshelf of documents and memorabilia donned its nooks and crannies. There were a couple pictures of me growing up peeking from the shelf as I walked further into the room. I don't believe I've been in here before. I tried to recall memories of ever seeing this room, coming up with nothing as a result. This room was new to me. Did I want to disturb the furniture? I'm curious. I gently opened the shelves and any drawers I saw in the room, and a couple of them were books and even sewing kits. I assumed they were used for my grandfather's toys, so I left them alone. One drawer, however, was locked no matter how many times I pulled. Grr, come on, open! Nothing. It would not budge. The drawer beside it, though, did, revealing a laptop. Why is there a laptop in a drawer? I lifted it from the drawer and carried it over to the desk and chair, opening it. It was a high-tech laptop with a retina scanner as a pass lock. I was not sure whether or not to try to unlock it or not. Let's try. Oh! I decided to try. I turned on the computer and leaned my face near the retina scanner, lining the camera up with my eye. To my surprise, I heard a ping. To my surprise, I heard a ping come from the computer before the screen opened to a desktop. Huh? Look at that. So it was like someone not, like, I don't know. On the desktop were documents and folders labeled with different aspects of the Anderson Company. Taxes, profits, bylaws, products. The list went on and on. If I really did want to become the CEO of the Anderson Toys Company, I had everything about it at my fingertips. Dad would sure be impressed. One icon, however, stood out from the rest. Virago, whatever, that word. I double-clicked the icon, but no window came up. Instead, I heard a large click come from the drawer that was locked. What the? I slowly left my seat and walked over to the drawer, attempting to open it again. It slid open smoothly in the direction of my pulling hand, revealing two books. One was a plain black journal with a tie to keep it closed. The other was bound in leather with cryptic symbols all over the cover. I took out the journal and skimmed through it. I see my grandfather's notes. They were all detailed explanation and opinions on his findings on demon magic. He really did know about magic. I sat down at the desk and read through the journal further, finding drawings and sketches of symbols and magic circles, each with their own different meanings and effects. It was all fascinating. There was even a page of important spells to know. I read through them, trying to memorize them into my mind. I don't know what came over me, but I started to feel more energetic and more powerful simply reading my grandfather's notes. I was suddenly aware of the energy that surrounded my body and the power that was around the house. The more I read, the more powerful I became. However, my mind suddenly froze and I found myself walking back to the drawer, putting the book back and closing the drawer. The lock reset and I snapped out of it. Huh? What? I shook my head and looked at the drawer, realizing what I had done. I walked over to the desk to reopen the lock, but suddenly felt the need to stop. Something held me back and didn't want me to pry any more that I already had. I was curious beyond belief, but I obeyed my thoughts for now. Eventually, I would come back and look into it. I returned to bed, feeling the weight of the morning drag me under my covers to try sleeping again. I had energy, but I wanted more sleep. It was Sunday and nothing was happening today. Come on, eyes, back to sleep. I shut my eyes and tried to slow my breathing. I looked at my phone to check the time once again. It was noon, yet it felt like I had slept for much longer. Why is time going so slowly? I sighed, got changed into normal clothes, and went out to the main hall and sat on the chairs. Suddenly, Sundays were very boring. However, the muffled sounds of battle caught my attention. Huh? I quickly went out to the backyard in response to the noise I had heard. In the yard were all 5 of the boys practicing fighting. Sam was in the middle with the other 4 surrounding him and throwing punches and kicks at him. Sam, being the strongest of the bunch, blocked and dodged each almost masterfully. I want to say hey. Save. Hey. Oh, now you can see all of their surprised faces. All at once, the boys looked at me, frozen in their movements. I just stood at the doorway, staring at them after my outburst. James was the first to break away from the group, stepping towards me.
Good morning. We apologize if we woke you up.
No, it's fine. I've been awake for a while now. I'm sorry I interrupted.
It's quite all right. We needed to stop anyway. We don't want to overwork Sam.
Oh, come on, I can handle more than those pity punches.
Alejandro, you sound like you're holding back laughing.
Your mind seems grateful that we've stopped.
Damien.
Shut up, Damien.
Oh crap, we should probably make some lunch. I'm sure you're starving.
I can handle lunch if you like. You all seem to be very busy training to beat Malik, so I'll take care of it today.
Whoa, seriously?
Yeah, why not? I'm not useless. I know how to cook and do other stuff too.
Well, no, I wasn't insinuating.
What he means to say is that we'd be really grateful if you could make lunch today.
Oh, he's smiling. Look at Sam. Everybody. Sam's the only one smiling. Even Matthew isn't. He just has a normal face. No problem. As I turned to the kitchen, the boys went back to training. They seemed very determined to get better and to become stronger. Might as well make lunch today. It's been a while since I cooked. Lunch wasn't particularly hard. I decided to make cold-cut sandwiches, pizza, simple chicken and rice. I actually do not know. I'll just do the pizza. Pizza is always good, no matter what time of day it is. Do we have any? Luckily, we had some pizza in the freezer to heat up. Pizzamores, baked with love pizza. Had all the makings of pizza types, including pepperoni, sausage, mushrooms, and extra cheese. Just top it, bake it, and serve. I'd have to get more later. The way I read that. I placed the food in the dining room. However, none of the boys were there by the time I brought the final dish out. I carried that dish to the main lobby. Just heard this ring, sorry. Catching the boys separating into different rooms of the house. Part of me wanted to go to one in particular. The other part of me wanted to just leave them be and take the food in my hand to my room and eat. Maybe I could go out today while the boys focus on training. Let's find one of the eat. I almost said go to your room and eat. Whoops. I quickly rushed back and grabbed a second food dish before hunting down one of the boys. One of the boys. I looked down each hall, trying to find one of the incubi wandering so that I wouldn't have to go through each individual room, finding them. I pursed my lips in irritation. Where the heck are they? I sighed, knowing that I would have to search for them in each room. I quickly turned and headed up the stairs. I began to walk down a hall and opened a random door, peeking inside. Luckily, I found Damien in the study. Damien was in Grandfather's study, which I had explored not long ago, despite only being here for a short while. Damien looked like he knew this room like the back of his hand. Damien was gazing at the pictures and books on the shelf, almost looking lost and dazed. It was almost adorable. I could sense a small hint of sadness in his eyes. Damien?
Huh? Oh, hello.
Damien turned to me and gave a gentle smile, as if he was doing nothing as I came in. I entered the room and closed the door behind me.
I was just looking at the books. They're very interesting topics.
Huh? I looked over at the shelf and skimmed over the spines of each book. They were all books about business and psychology, all ranging in thickness. Some crossed over and brought the two topics together, while others were strictly one or the other. Did my grandfather read and study all of these? They seemed used, but they were covered by a small layer of dust.
Do humans really study this much?
Do humans really study this much? He sounds like upset about it. Like, do they really have to do that? Occasionally, it depends on why we're studying.
What do you mean?
Oh, pretty nice. Sorry, I'm thirsty. I don't know why I just made that noise again, but okay. I tried to, but okay. What do you mean? Ah, my ear is ringing. Well... Oh, wait, he said that. Well, if we are interested in a topic like business, we learn what we can because we want to know more.
Are there things you can't study?
Nope. There are books and stuff about anything and everything.
Even the demon world?
Maybe, but usually those books are considered fiction or religious theory. It was almost cute to talk about learning with Damien. I guess learning was different in the demon world, but telling him about learning was almost like telling a child the meaning of life. I felt myself become a little wiser as we continued talking.
Humans can learn anything? At any time?
We have libraries and bookstores full of books we can read.
Humans have the freedom to learn anything.
I looked at Damien in confusion. He seemed to look jealous. What about demons? Can't they learn what they want? Damien shook his head before looking down at his feet.
Demons don't have schools to learn from like humans do. Everything we learn comes from experience or verbal mentoring. Books are only permitted to be read by higher nobles.
I stared wide-eyed. There were no schools in the Abyssal Plains? That seemed so unreal, yet in a way I wasn't that surprised.
The only ones who have ever touched a book are James and Eric, since they're the oldest. Sam and Matthew chose not to read.
Matthew kind of... Okay. I don't want to give any spoilers. What about you? Damien stood silent for a bit before if I could stop stuttering, as Michaela said in the bloopers, because, yeah, this is her game, and I'm literally saying something that she said, so I need to say that I actually did get that sentence from her, so. Damien stood silent for a moment, Damien stood silent for a bit before sitting on the ground, leaning against the large desk in the room. I decided to follow along and sat beside him.
You brought food?
Huh? Oh, yeah, I brought food. Here.
Thank you.
Damien took his dish of food and began to politely eat. I followed suit. It was painfully obvious that he was dodging my question. Did I want to know? I was very curious. Let's ask him again. I was curious, so I had to ask. However, Damien looked to me, stopping me from opening my mouth.
Because I'm technically not a noble at all.
I tilted my head and raised an eyebrow in confusion. Not a noble? But aren't you all brothers? If the others are nobles, that would make you one. Damien looked to his dish with a sigh. I suddenly felt regret for asking and pushing the topic. Before I could apologize, Damien spoke.
We are all half-brothers. We only share the same father. Our mothers are all different. James, Eric, Sam, and Matthew all had noble mothers who are now queens. My mother was not a noble, and is not a queen.
I could see sadness in Damien's eyes. I bit my lip. I shouldn't have pushed the issue. I'm sorry. Damien shook his head, snapping out of his thoughts, and smiled at me.
For what? You didn't know, and were curious. It was only appropriate to answer.
Still, it was rude of me to pry like that. I'm sorry. I didn't know what to say. Damien only smiled lightly at me before continuing to eat. As he ate, my mind began to wander to the abyssal plains. What was it like? What did it look like? Was their castle big? How many servants did they have? My thoughts were halted by Damien chuckling. Most likely at my thoughts, I turned red in embarrassment. Sorry.
You keep saying sorry when you don't need to. It's kind of cute.
I pursed my lips, but couldn't stop a blush from running across my face. This was going nowhere. I went back to eating in futility, earning another chuckle from Damien. Oh my goodness. However, as a groan of pain escaped Damien's lips, I stopped and looked at him in surprise. What? Damien, are you okay?
Yeah. It's nothing. Don't worry about it.
I heard him gulp down and hide another groan, making me even more concerned than before. Damien...
It's just a headache. I get it when I run out of energy. I'll be fine.
He was out of energy. He was out of energy? I guess he didn't take enough when we first met, so it was just enough to heal his wounds.
None of us took more than we needed to heal.
From the sound of his voice, he was fighting back major pain. I felt incredibly bad. Damien smiled very lightly at me.
I'll be fine.
No, let's give him more energy. If he needed energy, I was willing to give it. Damien instantly turned away from me before I could finish my sentence.
No. I'll be fine. I'm used to this.
Oh, I don't want to laugh, but it's like he knew and... Oh, poor sweet thing. Oh no, you can't be used to... Used to it? Used to pain? There was no way that was okay. I glared at Damien before grabbing his shoulder and forcing him around. Damien stared wide-eyed at me in surprise. Damien stared at me wide-eyed in surprise. Damien, let me help you, please. I don't want to see you in pain like this. I continued to stare at him, wondering if he'd make the first move. I wanted to help him, truly. I knew that my energy would help him not feel pain. Damien must have heard my thoughts as his gaze changed from nervous to piercing. Music. All of a sudden, I felt that familiar feeling of warmth run through my body. Once again, I felt my body slightly heat up as Damien wrapped an arm around my body and pulled my body tightly to his. Damien grew lustful gaze before speaking, bringing a hand up to cup the back of my neck.
Thank you.
Oh. Before I knew it, Damien pulled me into a gentle but passionate kiss. Heat erupted through my body as his kiss slowly and almost timidly got deeper. Damien kept an arm around my waist while I rested my hands on his chest. The energy from my body was slowly draining in the kiss, making me feel light and warm. It was almost pitiful how comfortable and how willing I was in this situation. I held no regrets. I was enjoying every bit of this kiss. Damien was a wild card. I didn't really know what to expect from him, and his kiss was no exception. Damien wasn't forceful, but his kiss was deep and passionate, and it felt almost magical. It was how I imagined the first kiss to be like, except with energy drain. Soon, though, the energy drain stopped, and Damien gently pulled his face away to end the kiss. I stared up at him as we both panted for air. I had never kissed like that before and was so lost in the moment that I had forgotten how to breathe. Damien moved a strand of hair from my face to behind my ear, eyes still full of desire.
I'm okay. But
His voice. But I can't even. made that voice. His voice. Oh my god, the music. I could feel the hold of his mind-altering spell fade away, but I still felt hot. Something told me that I wanted more, but at the same time, I wasn't sure if I truly did want to give any more. Alright, look at that. CG. Let's, just, keep going. I opened this opportunity and was enjoying it as much as he was. I wanted more, and I was going to let him keep going. I wanted to keep going. I leaned up and kissed him again. Damien gasped against my lips, but continued to kiss back. I could feel him pull on the tail of my bow, releasing it and following his hand off from around my neck. He moved the ribbon to his pocket before gently unbuttoning the top 2 buttons on my blouse. The desire of my body drove me insane, forcing him more to his skin. My lips as he ran kisses from my lips down to my exposed neck. As he began to ravish my neck and shoulder in hot kisses, I leaned my head back and let a pleasurable sigh escape my lips. Damien was ruthless in his passionate kisses on my skin. Damien didn't stop Damien didn't stop touching and kissing me, making more moans and gasps rush out of my mouth into the open air. He may have been full, but he was as hot as I was. I couldn't even comprehend how much I couldn't even comprehend how much time we spent making out. I was lost in the pleasure that I didn't care. Call it sinful, but I didn't care. It's sin. It's so much sin. I loved it. Yes, I did get that from a girl in the game. She did say that. I'm not getting copyrighted. I'm joking. I'm pretty sure she can't copyright me. I say that. Jinx myself. I loved it. His touch, his kiss, his heat. I desired it beyond anything at that moment. Even as he lowered his kisses down my chest to just above my ball. My heart was beating wildly in my chest. Something about Damien intrigued me immensely. And something made my... Something made my heart quicken for him. It couldn't have been love, but it was too passionate to be lost. What was it? However, I began to feel dizzy. Seeing the ceiling start to spin almost wildly, I gripped onto Damien's shoulders, trying to signal him to stop, but my mind faded to black before I could let out another sound. And she fainted, because it was so hot. I felt good. Yes, I got that from a girl in the game too, okay? I felt good. I didn't care that I was blacked out. I felt warm and fuzzy in the darkness. I never knew indulging in that kind of passion would be that good. I now just waited to awaken, hopefully in a good way. My eyes eventually fluttered open, adjusting to the sight around me. I felt familiar silks underneath me, letting me know that I was in my bed. I slowly sat up, stretching from the tiredness that still lingered. I felt a very soft pain on my neck and shoulders, and I could feel my swollen lips pulse gently in healing. However, when I looked down at my body, I saw that my shirt had been pulled back up and rebuttoned as if nothing happened between me and Damien. I was just missing my ribbon. Before I turned to get out of bed, though, I spotted my ribbon on the pillow beside the one I slept on. It was tied around a small pen in a nice bow with a small note attached to it. I gently slipped the note from the tie and opened it to read it.
Thank you. I indulged myself, but I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Damien.
He also just wrote his name. Oh, how cute. I stared at the note, letting a small smile grace my lips. He indulged himself as much as I did. I enjoyed it. It was cute, though, to imagine him thanking me for something we both did and enjoyed. I brought the note to chest, letting the memories of our meeting flood my mind. I indulged myself too, Damien. I looked to the time out of curiosity. The large white numbers on my phone showed 5:31 p.m. Yikes! 4 hours of being knocked out, and I still feel tired. It was Sunday, so I was allowed to sleep longer if I wanted to. The remainder of the night passed by, surprisingly uneventful. The boys continued to train with each other, but were kind enough to stop and make me dinner. I was glad for that. Unsurprisingly, the food was perfect, but it felt a little empty without the boys to eat with me. They most likely had already eaten, but still, I felt lonely. I couldn't let it bother me. I ate and went back to my room to study and sleep. Surprisingly, I felt good at going to bed that night. I felt like I could have a peaceful sleep after the previous rough nights I had. I felt good. I drifted to sleep and woke up almost flawlessly that next morning. No grogginess, no aches, perfectly energized and bright-eyed. Man, how long has it been since I got that much good sleep? I looked to my alarm clock. I woke up 10 minutes before my alarm. Well, hey, I must be lucky today. Karma owed me some luck. After all I had gone through in merely a handful of days, I deserved to get some good luck. Ecstatic for the day ahead, I turned off my alarms before they could ring and got dressed. However, my phone started to quickly buzz from an incoming text. Huh? Who's texting me this early?
Yo, Anderson! You're carpooling with us from now on. We're not letting you waste your money on a bus. Get ready and be at your gate at 7 stat.
I smiled. My friends were the best. I couldn't drive yet, and I didn't have a car, so it was awesome that my friends would let me carpool. I checked the time, 6:30. Perfect! I can eat some breakfast before they come. I packed my bag and carried it downstairs towards the kitchen. As I entered the dining room, I saw a plate with eggs, toast, and bacon sitting on the table. A fresh steaming cup of coffee sat next to the plate with the sugar and creamer on the side. I walked to the table and couldn't believe what I was seeing. Who made this? As I spoke aloud, a small red note caught my attention. Have a good day, yours. My heart skipped a beat. As I finished, I could tell it was from one of the boys. Maybe it was from him? I smiled before putting the note. What? I'm sorry, Logan. Oh, I'm so sorry. I smiled before putting the note in my bag and... Stop it! I'm trying to tell you I was recording. I smiled before putting the note in my bag and eating up. The food was so delicious. I devoured every amazing bite. I looked at the time again. Time to go. I quickly rushed to the doors, checking myself in the passing mirror. I wasn't wanting to impress anyone, but I still needed to look decent. Hold on, I need to make sure that we're still recording. Yes. 53 minutes, oh my goodness. Before I could reach the handle of the door, however, someone took my hand. Huh? I turned to see Damien, who was holding my hand back with a concerned frown on his face.
My name.
Frown, rather. Your name?
My true name isn't Damien. I want you to know my real name, if something were to happen.
His true name? What did he mean? Why was he telling me this now? I remembered reading about a demon's name from the journal I read yesterday. If you knew a demon's true name, you could summon them to you, no matter where you were or where they were. Damien gently pulled me to him and leaned close to whisper in my ear.
My name is Ezreal.
Ezreal. Ow, my neck. As he said his name, I could feel it lock into my memory. Something in my head would make sure I would never forget it. Damien pulled away and stared at me, despite still carrying worry in his eyes.
If you are in any danger, call my name. I promise, I'll come and help you.
I stared up at Damien, unable to say anything. What?
Why didn't you eat dinner?
Because I wasn't hungry. I'm recording right now.
I'm sorry?
I'm recording.
Oh, that's important, I know. More important in this room.
Shush! I stared up at Damien, unable to say anything. I could only nod in response. Damien smiled before releasing my hand and heading into the dining room. Something told me that name would be used eventually. And right on cue, Naomi drove up to the gates with Susie waving me down. I rushed out the door and we headed to school, talking about the homework and the coming day. Alright, so I hope you guys like this video. Like, subscribe, turn notifications on, comment down below. And subscribe now to join the Wolfpack. I love you so much. I love you so much, my Wolfpack. And I'll see you guys next video. Bye now.